Welcome along to another edition of Matchbook's Weekend Football Podcast. Adrian Clarke and Mark O'Haire are on board as ever. A busy midweek, guys. Adrian, you were at the Emirates last night. Tough one for the Gunners, especially in the second half, but Liverpool, again, the cream always rises to the top, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think Arsenal showed in the first half that they are getting there. They played pretty bravely. They got in the face of Liverpool and caused them a lot of problems, actually. They just couldn't find the finishing touch. And then it was a question of, can they maintain it? Because you knew Liverpool would get stronger. And that's exactly what happened. Salah and Firmino come off the bench, made an impact, Firmino in particular. And they sort of forced mistakes from Arsenal that lesser teams are unable to do. So, yeah, it was. I think there were more positives than negatives. Gabriel Martinelli, I don't know if you saw the game. Gabriel Martinelli was excellent, really, really exciting. So a step forward for him. Sort of just a wake up call for Arsenal that there's work to do yet.
I didn't see him, mate. I was in Champions League mode this week, and Mark O'Haire to that. Your best bet was Atletico and Manchester United, both teams to score. I'll be honest, Mark, I haven't watched that second half. I think United could have been there till Tuesday and they wouldn't have scored. It was just a lack of inspiration, a lack of guile, a lack of pizzazz, just a lack of a lot of stuff. And when I saw Matic and Mata coming off the bench, Mark, didn't really fill me with confidence there after either.
Yeah, I've defended Ralph Rangnick quite a lot and of course spoken positively about him, but there was a few strange substitutions in that match. Taking off Fred, who I thought was one of Man United's better players, was a surprise. But first half I thought they fashioned a few half chances, a few opportunities, but just didn't really get the sort of finishing touch or final ball really. But Atletico, they just fell straight into the trap, didn't they? And there's been a lot of complaints about the referee and time wasting and housery in the second half, but United only have themselves to blame. And I have no sympathy for them when players like Bruno Fernandes are spending more time complaining to the referee than getting on and trying to win a football match. And fair play to Atletico. The last few weeks we've seen a bit more of the old Atleti come back in. It helps when you've got Savic and Jimenez both fit and available in that back three. Ronaldo, a January signing, is also slotted in there and they've looked a lot more secure. And also Jan Oblak as well. He's had a horrendous season, but kind of saw back the old sort of Jan Oblak in midweek, making a few crucial saves and interventions too. So fair play to Atletico, but absolutely zero sympathy for United. Deserve to be, they were second best in the first leg and didn't do enough in that second leg either. So yeah, well played Atletico.
Any quick thoughts on that, Adrian?
I didn't see the game because I was at Birmingham City in midweek, so I was sort of listening to it. But yeah, Manchester United, I don't think anyone that's watched Manchester United this season would have expected them to have gone through. I just think that their level, I'm talking about Arsenal, their level is a rung below Liverpool's. Of course it is right now, but they're getting there. With Manchester United, I think they're quite fortunate to have gotten to this stage of the Champions League, and they would have been a little bit out of their depth in the next round, in my opinion. Yeah, just a little bit too savvy. I mean, Simeone's teams, they're just, if you concede first to them, it's incredibly difficult, and so it proved.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fascinating couple of quarterfinals ahead in the coming weeks, which we'll cover a matchbook as well with Jonathan Wilson and Mark here. All right, what we're going to do today, we're going to do two Premier League games. We're going to preview two FA Cup quarter-final ties, and we'll also have EFL and European bets. But let's start with the Premier League on Sunday and Tottenham Hotspur and West Ham. Current betting as we have it at matchbook.com at the time of recording. You can back Tottenham here 1.72, West Ham at 5.1, the draw available at 4.0. West Ham getting a 3/4 goal start on the main Asian handicap line at 1.95, and you can back Tottenham at the same price on the same Asian handicap line minus 3/4, and 2 3/4 is the total. Adrian Clarke, what are you thinking of this one? Where's the angle in?
I think there are a couple of angles in. These are two sides that, in my opinion, are better on the break. Spurs for sure, very, very deadly, aren't they? When there's space to slide passes in behind for Kane or Son, and I think West Ham will be kind of aware of that. I think Moyes is a pretty canny operator, and I think they'll do their best to avoid those situations. West Ham, if you look at counter-attacking goals scored this season, they've scored some absolute beauties, and I think Fornals has come to the fore. A number of his goals have come on the end of full pitch breakaways. So it could end up where they cancel one another out, where, I think they're both waiting to pounce on the other. So, yeah, it might not be that much of an exciting match. I mean, you look at the stats. Spurs have had 3 blanks from 5 at home against top 8 sides this season. So against the best teams on their own patch, they haven't scored that many goals. Actually, against teams above them in the table, Spurs, they've only scored 10 goals in 11 games, home and away this season. I think most of them came against the Manchester clubs. Half of them came in those games. So they've struggled to break down the very best teams in the division this season. Kane loves it against West Ham United, so I think that you'd be looking at him. Antonio's got a very good record against Spurs, but yeah, so I think unders is something to think about. The line is relatively high. I think under 2 3/4 is one to think about, because I think tactically they might cancel one another out. But I have to lean towards Spurs. They've got the extra day's rest, home advantage. We don't know what's going to happen, of course, with a severe game for West Ham. Home advantage. Last home game they were sensational against Everton. Professional against Brighton in midweek, of course, as well. So I do lean towards Spurs here, even though West Ham won last weekend. So it's the good old fashioned. My selection really here would be, if you're not going to go unders, would be Tottenham and under 4.5 goals. I don't see this being a 3-2 thriller. I think it will be quite cagey, but Spurs are playing better now, and I think they might just have the edge over West Ham United, who don't have a very good away record of late. I think 8 points they've got from the last 27 away from home, so that is a concern for the Irons. So yeah, Spurs and under 4.5 is my pick, but you could easily just go unders.
Yeah, unders that the bet you mentioned under 2.75 is 1.93, and Tottenham and under 4.5 is 2.06. Mark O'Haire, if we get good Spurs here, it's hard to see past them. But again, it's a big if with this team.
Yeah, it is. We've talked about them a few times now. When they're good, they're very good. But when they're bad, they can be pretty awful too. And Conte is quite happy to throw his toys out of the pram when that occurs. So, yeah, the home form has been reasonably good throughout the campaign. And that midweek win against Brighton, I didn't see the match, but all accounts suggest that they were, as Adrian says, very professional, got the job done, didn't concede a shot on target, and generated a high XG, which is always encouraging too. So injury-wise, they're relatively free and okay. As Adrian says, they get the extra day's rest as well. But also, their record against the top half is middling at best, really. Just 4 wins and 8 defeats in 14 fixtures, compared to the bottom half, where they've been pretty dominant. Obviously, they beat City twice, home and away, which is encouraging. But you look at the Spurs price. I compared it with Man United, who hosted West Ham. United were 2.17 and Arsenal were 2.3. So kind of comparisons around the same sort of marks there, and there's a quite a big difference there. And I think the big issue, I can't actually get to the 1.73 from those prices. I mean, the big issue for West Ham is playing Thursday night in a big European tie, which I think they do want to win, but also the injuries as well, which are starting to stack up. And Bowen's out, Soufal is out, we know for sure. Antonio and Cresswell haven't trained this week, so look very highly likely to miss the Seville game and then possibly the weekend as well. And if Antonio's out as well as Bowen, then that's definitely kind of cuts down your attacking options. Take out Soufal. Ogbonna, of course, is a long-term injury. That's 3, 4, 5 key influential starters there for West Ham, possibly missing. The road form is poor, lost all 5 of the top 8. And actually, I've got West Ham ranked 5th for expected points away from home, which is quite surprising, really. But when they go to the top teams, they tend to get beaten by, they've been pretty poor on both boxes. They managed just 5 shots on target from inside the penalty area in 5 games against the teams above them. And they've actually allowed over 8 expected goals in that game as well. So things have definitely fallen down in both boxes as well. And something I kind of keep on sort of talking about West Ham throughout the season as well. They have kept 7 clean sheets, which is pretty below par for a team chasing a Champions League position. 4 of those came against the bottom 4 as well. So they do tend to concede against the better teams in the division. So I'd fancy Spurs to make the breakthrough, but what Spurs are we going to get? There's a narrative kind of going around at the minute that Spurs are only good when they get a full week's rest. Well, they played Wednesday night, so that's something to bear in mind. But I think everything's sort of set up to this to be a really well contested London derby. Both teams gunning for European positions, but I back Spurs. I just think they've got a bit more X factor, and also there's West Ham injuries kind of holding me back away from the Hammers too.
All right, so the play is going to be Tottenham and under 4.5 at 2.06 currently at the time of recording. And it may be a narrative, Mark, but it's hard to argue with the stats with Tottenham with that break. All
Kane
right,
looks good, doesn't he? Kane looks really good.
Really good, yeah.
I think Kulusevski has been a really good addition as well. I know Mark's been championing him for a while, so yeah, he looks an effective player, doesn't he? So yeah, they've got their faults, Tottenham, but I think they're coming into this in better nick for the reasons Mark outlined than West Ham.
Top Swedish scorer Euro 2020. That was the one. It just seemed like it was the tournament was a year or two early for him. I think that's what it was.
Sorry, I've got a box of great value losing bets right over there. I'll show you them one day. We could go through.
It's all right. You got to take those two, Mark. All right, we move on to Saturday's early Premier League fixture: Aston Villa against Arsenal. Current betting at the time of recording at matchbook.com. You can back Villa at 3.1. Arsenal at 2.38. The draw available at 3.55. Villa getting a quarter of a goal start on the main age and handicap line at 1.85. 2.5 is the total, and shaded towards the over there, Mark O'Haire at 1.86. That's not surprising, Mark. This kind of game strikes me as a potentially entertaining affair at the Emirates.
Yeah, I think it's got. I'm quite looking forward to watching this match, actually, and I think Arsenal are being well rated by the market for obvious reasons. The way in which they put Leicester away last weekend was very impressive. Leicester did make changes, potentially prioritising Europe, but Arsenal, as we talked about numerous times now, have been the best of the rest in the Premier League this season. Keep saying it, but exclude the games against the top three. They're top of the tree for points earned, XG ratio, expected points, and all the other sort of performance data metrics I look towards. So they're in the top four on merit. They've returned 16 wins, 3 draws, 5 defeats since the start of September. Exclude the top 5, and actually it's 16 wins, 3 draws, and 2 defeats. So I think it's pretty clear that they're one of the better teams in the Premier League, but also they're benefiting from not playing in Europe as well. They've been relatively injury-free throughout the season, or at least since August, and they're playing at high standards quite consistently. And Adrian touched on a match midweek against Liverpool. That's the big sort of down mark I kind of have against Arsenal, is having to play that match on Wednesday night. Really, it's a tough match to sort of turn around to, particularly with Villa having a free midweek. But the big question surrounding Arsenal traditionally has been, can they compete against the better teams in the league? The answer is no so far, particularly against the top 3. But also, can they turn up in tricky away games when well favoured? And they turned up at Wolves and put in a really impressive display to win there. So I wouldn't count against them here. They've also scored in 23 of the last 27 Premier League games. They are playing a Villa team who I can't get a full read on at the moment. They seem to be quite hit and miss. Potentially, if you look at their results, they definitely are. But walloping Southampton in the last home game, playing some fantastic attacking football. The comeback against Man United, springs to mind. Brave efforts against Man City and Liverpool, but then turned over by Watford, lost at Brentford, chucked away points at home to Leeds as well. So the last 16 games, I've got them ranked 8th in expected points. So it's pretty much an even Stevens expected goal supremacy in that run as well. So they have kept clean sheets in 3 of the last 4, but I still don't trust that defence. Luca Dean's injured. You've got Mings and Chambers at centre half. Cash, a very attack-minded right back. I think they're gettable, that defence. And a criticism they've had recently is a lack of physicality, particularly through the midfield. And Arsenal don't sort of scream to you sort of being physical and marauding there, but they've got Thomas Partey, who definitely is. So potentially that's an area of positivity for Arsenal going into this game. But if they weren't playing Liverpool, I'd be all over Arsenal minus a quarter, but they had to play Liverpool midweek. So instead, I think both teams to score. It's a short enough price at 1.71, but it's 1 in 8 of Villa's 11 games against teams above them, including all 5 at Villa Park. It's just 1 clean sheet in that same sample, and they've scored in all bar 2. I don't know who that is, actually. I've got an unfinished note there. But Villa have got plenty of attacking firepower. Coutinho's finding his stride. You look, the system's changed. They're playing 2 up front with Ings and Watkins. Coutinho giving a bit of a free roll from the left or just in the hole. And I think they've got the potential to score, particularly against a potentially weary Arsenal team after midweek.
Yeah, Adrian, both these teams are very easy on the eye of late. And it's hard to kind of disagree with Mark's assessment there that both teams scores pretty good luck.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming at this particular game as well. I think that I don't trust Villa's defence either. I know that they've had some good results of late, but with Digne missing, that's a bit of a blow. Ashley Young against Saka, I think Saka might have a little bit of joy down that side. Martinelli against Cash will be an exciting duel, like it was Martinelli against Alexander-Arnold last night. Chambers has started pretty well actually at Villa, but him and Mings, it's not a partnership that fills me with that much confidence. The stats do say that Villa almost always score, particularly in home games. always worth a goal against the big teams. But their record against sides in the top 8 is really bad actually this year. You think that's a really awkward game for a big gun. Well, they've won 1, drawn 1, lost 9 against the top 8 this season. Aston Villa scored in most of those games, but ended up on the losing side. So yeah, and that I think is down to the fact that they've not been that secure at the back. So yeah, no, I think much the same. Obviously, they've thrown in a couple of bad results like the Watford one, Villa, but in general they're coming into this in good form. What I will say about their goal threat is that a lot of the guys have scored against Arsenal before. Jacob Ramsey scored in the game at Emirates, but Coutinho got 4 for Liverpool against Arsenal down the years. Ings scored, I think, 3 goals for Southampton against Arsenal, and Watkins got 3 last season alone, scored home and away against Arsenal. So you're looking for players that have good records against Arsenal. Villa got 3 of them. So you would imagine, and they're starting to click, I think, as a unit at the top of the pitch. So I think they're worth a goal here, but Arsenal are absolutely worth a goal too. A lot of their forward players are in really good form. It just depends how they come out of this Liverpool game. Mentally, I think they'll be okay, but physically, it was a tough game last night. I'm knackered and I didn't play. So, goodness knows how they're feeling right now. So yeah, the early kickoff is a little bit of a, it's a tester for them.
Yeah.
Don't have a great recent record at Villa Park either, Arsenal. So I sense this might be a draw, a score draw, but my selection would be both teams to score.
All right, both teams score currently at 1.71. It's a short price, but I would imagine there's a reason for that. It seems to be a very good solid bet, and I wouldn't be averse to looking at over 2.5 as well, personally. All right, let's move on. FA Cup, guys. We're at that time of the year, quarterfinals. Middlesbrough against Chelsea. Really good game here. And Adrian Lee, with you here first. Let's take a look at the betting as we have it on matchbook.com. Borough at 6.8, Chelsea at 1.5, the draw available at 4.2. Middlesbrough getting a goal start to 2.03, and Chelsea -1 there is 1.84, and the goal line is 2 3/4, and that's slightly shade towards the under there at 1.93. Adrian, what you make of this one? Look, you've been a big exponent of Chris Wilder since he came in Borough. They've been a very good team to back in the Championship, but is it just probably a step too far? This Chelsea team, again, we talked about in the Champions League podcast, we've had a 3-game sample size since these sanctions came in. It doesn't seem to have any major interest. They have been galvanised by what I can see anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Tuchel's handled it well, and I think that's reflected in the team's performances. They're just getting on with it, aren't they? And I think they will here. Obviously, they're public enemy number 1. I mean, that was an absolute embarrassment, wasn't it, from the club to request that this is played behind closed doors in really bad taste.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they retracted it, but it still reflects very poorly on them.
Who signs off on these?
Oh,
things?
no. But Tuchel, to be fair, he's slammed it as well. And I think he's an open book. And yeah. But they are public enemy number 1. I saw Borough in midweek. They could have worn their flip-flops and beaten Birmingham City. They were really solid in the game. Birmingham were poor, but Middlesbrough are a good team. Really strong back 3. They've got excellent wing back in Isaiah Jones. Strong midfielders, and up front, got 2 young players that are hungry to impress in Balogun and Connolly. But I don't know if they can. They've beaten Man United on penalties. They've beaten Spurs with a sensational performance.
Yeah.
Can they really go and beat Chelsea as well and reach the semi-final? I feel this is where their journey might come to an end, because Chelsea are pretty solid, aren't they? They don't give a great deal away from, don't give a lot away, do they, away from home? I think against bottom half Premier League sides, which is kind of where Borough are at best. Chelsea have kept 5 clean sheets from 8. They've never not conceded more than 1 in any of the games against teams in the bottom half on the road, Chelsea. So I would imagine the most Borough will get here is 1 goal. Chelsea went to Lille, scored 2. Went to Norwich, scored 2. So I think they'll be fine. I think they'll come through this test, but it won't be easy because Middlesbrough, they don't give you gifts Not sure about the keeper. I don't know if Mark will know from his QPR days, Joe Lumley. I think he's a little bit of a weak link for Middlesbrough, but yeah, overall, I feel this will be a tight game, but that Chelsea will come out on the right side of it. So Chelsea in under 3.5 would be my selection, and it's a nice little price, 2.28. Last time I looked, I don't know what it is right now.
Yeah, it's actually 2.3 now, Adrian. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll take that. So it's I think that this is how I see it. It's a 1-0, it's a 2-0, but I considered Chelsea winning to 0, but Middlesbrough are very dangerous from set pieces. You've got Crooks up there that is always worth a go. Isaiah Jones, as I've said, is a really creative wing back. Balogun played fantastic actually in midweek at Birmingham. So they might be worth a goal here, but I think the most they can get is 1, and I think Chelsea will still win the game. So yeah, Chelsea in under 3.5 for me.
I'll get Mark's thoughts in a second. Just something you touched on there in terms of Tuchel handling this situation quite well. Look, we're a betting podcast here, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but what's your opinion of the criticism coming out of Eddie Howe in the last couple of days? It's a very, I personally think it's a very tough spot for him. I think it's very different when people are saying, oh, well, Tuchel is being very kind of, aware or whatever. But it's not the same situation, Adrian, isn't it? I mean, like Tuchel, Abramovich is more or less out the door. It's a very different situation for Eddie Howe.
Very different, yeah, and very different, and I think it's easy to sort of be open and frank about what's going on with Russia at the moment, and come across as being very honest. But with Eddie Howe, we know who his employers are, and although there's an ongoing issues over there, it's a really tricky situation. I just think I think it's unfair. I know that a lot of people say, well, you sign up for a club like that, you should be, expect to answer these questions and to deal with them. But Eddie Howe's like us, his main love is football. If anyone was to ask me about situation over in the Middle East, I think I would be very wary about what I said, because I'm not an expert on it, and I think that Eddie Howe is in that position. I don't blame him at all for just batting those questions away. I think it's up to others within the club to be asked those questions, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think, look, in all honesty, everyone's got a boss, generally speaking. If you are an employee, and who else goes on, and criticizes their boss? You just got to play the game cute.
It's never a great idea.
No, not exactly. There you go. Mark, back to football. What do you think of Adrian's selection or Chelsea and under 3.5? I think you were trying to get with Borough on the main Asian handicap line, but it's very much moved against them in Chelsea's direction in the last couple of hours.
Yeah. I'm not a great lover of FA Cup betting anyway, but this is one where I thought Middlesbrough might be able to give Chelsea a bit of a game. Obviously, that match on Wednesday night in Lille, the international break on the horizon as well. I don't expect Chelsea to field a really weakened team. They will make changes, but I think we saw the 11 that played against Luton. They were given a real scare and made a bit of a pig's ear out of it in the last round. But I think they'll be stronger this time around. Tuchel's obviously got that reputation for being a cup coach as well. He's had great success. But yeah, I mean, Chelsea haven't been that convincing in the FA Cup this season, have they? And it's difficult really to still make a case that they shouldn't be 1.4. They've gone off shorter when playing away at Norwich and Watford already this season. So, but I do really like Middlesbrough. I do really like what they're building there under Chris Wilder, particularly at the Riverside, where they've reeled off something like 9 or 10 straight wins. I know one of them was an extra time against Spurs, but still they're gunning for the top 6 at the minute, and they've had a really good response to quite a damaging defeat to Sheffield United. And I just think, sometimes it's hard to quantify these things, but chuck in that stupid statement on Tuesday, chuck in the fact that it's now going to be a sellout Middlesbrough crowd here. They're going to be absolutely bang up for this. This is one of their games of the season, if you like. And I think the players can feed off that atmosphere sometimes. They did against Spurs, and I thought they could make it competitive. So I looked at Middlesbrough plus 1.25, just knowing that Chelsea need to win by 2 or more goals to see that bet lose. But it's gone too short now. So I'm happy to sort of stand aside and let Adrian's bet go forward here. Chelsea, I mean, if Reece James is back, that's a big bonus because I don't think they're the same team without those 2 fullbacks. But just unquantifiables really, and just quite keen to kind of get an underdog on side in the FA Cup with a nice start. But it's not the case. Maybe they might bounce back before the weekend, but it looks unlikely.
Maybe so, but yeah, the selection is going to be Chelsea and under 3.5 at 2.3. The old Chelsea and under 3.5 has won the last 3 occasions. I mark you tip it up in Champions League podcast against Lille as well. And so yeah, we'll get on that one. All right, the other FA Cup game we're going to look at this weekend is Nottingham Forest against Liverpool. Currently at matchbook.com, you can back Forest. Not that surprisingly, 12.0 at home. Liverpool at 1.3. The draw available at 6.0. And Forest getting a 1 3/4 goal start on the main Asian handicap line at 1.93. 3 is the total, shaded towards the over there at about 1.9. Mark, what's the opinion here? What do you think? Tough one to call. Or look, I suppose Liverpool, you just don't know what team they're going to put out either. Is probably the other issue there. You know, it could be a wait and see, but good run for Forest to get this far as well.
Yeah, Forest have been playing really good football. Second best record in the Championship since Steve Cooper was appointed in terms of points earned. Been really effective at the City Ground as well. Watched them midweek, obviously. Beat my own team, QPR, 3-1.
Nice.
They weren't that secure, in fairness. They gave away a couple of opportunities, but once the equaliser came, they were the dominant team in that match. And most of their best results have come against the lesser teams in the league. They do tend to fall a little bit short in the final third. Excuse me, losing my voice this morning. But they're playing with sort of confidence, a degree of momentum, belief, inspiration.
Yeah.
And I think there's plenty of their players who are being lined up by Premier League clubs as well, particularly down the right-hand side, two really exciting youngsters. But yeah, they'll be bang up for this. They've dispatched Aston and Leicester pretty comfortably, so they'll feel like they deserve this chance of putting Liverpool away. And I think you look at the Liverpool price at 1.2, it does look pretty rank, but they were 1.33 at Leicester. They were 1.38 at Wolves. So, it's kind of understandable really why they are so short. They are one of the best teams in the world. Obviously coming off that tough tie on Wednesday night, which to me suggests that they will make changes here. It will be their 13th game in 6 weeks. You've had a cup final go the distance in that stretch as well, plus back-to-back away days before this match. So this is their third successive away game. So you look at the team that they fielded in the last 2 rounds, Norwich and Cardiff. You've had the likes of Minamino, Origi, Firmino all get game time. Curtis Jones, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Milner, Konate, Tsimikas, Gomez. I wouldn't be too surprised if half a dozen of those feature here. And that's always the worry when you get involved in an FA Cup game. But I just think the backups there to Liverpool, they're a much stronger squad now than they probably were a couple of years ago. They are a winning machine. They are subconsciously now going to be eyeing up the quadruple. I know it's not going to be a sort of target that Klopp will talk about, but they have to be thinking about that privately and thinking we could really create something quite historic here. So, yeah, Liverpool should win. It's how you kind of get the win on side. And I've sort of pondered whether the under 3.5 goals was something to chuck in there at sort of 2.12. Just knowing that Forest will unlikely kind of try and go toe-to-toe if Liverpool do kind of come out with a strong team. But ultimately, I just have a little swing and a miss, really, because it's FA Cup weekend. Liverpool to win and both teams to score, which is 2.9. I do think Forest have got players in the final third with pace and trickery and ability that could cause a sort of second-string Liverpool defence a few problems. If Van Dijk's missing or if Matip's missing, Matip's been fantastic in recent weeks. I do think they are a bit of a lesser team. So, yeah, we'll wait and see. But I thought the 2.9 was a big price.
Yeah, not a bad one to watch. And obviously, look, it's going to be incumbent on a lot of team news there. And Adrian, Mark touching it there in terms of Liverpool's depth. It is there this season, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, Firmino and Salah came off the bench last night. No Minamino, no Origi, so they've got options there. Jota only had 53, 54 minutes because they made those changes quite early. The same for Luis Diaz. So they've none of them come out of that game knackered. Because I think Mane was the only one that played the full 90 in terms of the forward players. My issue with Forest, and they've been brilliant, and Cooper has done an extraordinary job. Yeah. They were bottom of the league when he took over, and now there's every chance they could be in the Premier League. And here they are, having dispatched Arsenal and Leicester, playing Liverpool in a real glamour cup quarter final. So yeah, it's been great, but they've got 2 key injuries at the back. Forest, Steve Cook is injured; he's out for 6 weeks. He's been a beast, really, since he came in from Bournemouth. Held it all together in the middle of the back 3. They've also lost Max Lowe, the left back, for 6 weeks. And there's a bit of a knock-on effect there because it means Colback gets put to left back and then they bring in someone else in midfield. So that's not helpful. Lewis Grabban is also out at the moment. You remember him being involved in those previous cup games. Keenan Davis is having a good season. Battering ram of a striker, really powerful at the top end, but is he going to really knock around a Van Dijk or a Matip or a Conte and these guys? I'm not sure. I think a little bit like Borough. I just sense this might be where they come up a little bit short. There are a lot of goals at the City ground. I think the average is closer to 3, around 2.7 goals per game in the Championship. And yeah, just with Liverpool's firepower, I can see them scoring, 2 or 3 goals here, no problem. Forest might be worth one themselves. So yeah, I think it's a similar story, I think, to the Borough-Chelsea game, where I just think this might be a step too far for the Championship outfit. I expect Liverpool to progress. All eyes on that quadruple. My way in is at a worse price, but it's obviously it takes the risk of backing Forest to score a goal. Liverpool and over 2.5. Would be my selection, but that's it's 1.74, I think. So you're not getting as much bang for your buck there, but you're getting 3-0, 4-0. All these results on side.
Yeah, you Liverpool over 2.5 is actually 1.77, so you're getting a small bit of a better price there, Adrian. I'm not totally sure what to do with this one. I think Mark, you made a good case there, but I don't think this is your confidence selection anyway, so I might just side with Adrian on this one. Mark, quick one for you. What kind of price would you want to guess if you were backing Liverpool for the quadruple? Obviously, they got one. Just putting you on the spot there. Obviously, it's incumbent on the Champions League draw. What are they going to be for that and the Premier League? So, would you want 14 to 1? That kind of way? Or not?
I'd want bigger than that, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'd want bigger than that. You've still got City, you've still got big guns in the FA Cup, you've still got big guns in the Champions League, you're still trading in the Premier League as well, and you've still got to go to the Etihad as well. So the odds are still stacked massively against them. So probably 20s as a starting place.
Yeah, I like this Liverpool team. Yeah, I'd take 20s off if you're going to offer. We get into that post-record. Yeah, Daniel Huston, my producer, said, I lay a 14 to 1. So yeah, look, my pricing probably wasn't great there. He's probably worked out the odds that it's not really doing myself much. All right, let's do a very quick recap of what we have so far before we get to EFL and European selections. We're taking Spurs at under 4.5 at 2.06. Villa, Arsenal, both teams score 1.71. Chelsea and under 3.5 at 2.3. And we're going to side with Adrian there, the last one. Liverpool and over 2.5 at 1.77. Check out insights.matchbook.com for a full recap of those selections from Thursday afternoon onwards and each and every week. All right, Adrian, EFL time. We're starting the Championship on Saturday, and Millwall getting quarter of a goal start at Stoke at 1.8. Millwall, of course, very much in the promotion hunt and defensively very strong-sided, and don't see that many goals.
Incredibly strong defensively. You look at the eight game form table, and Millwall are top of the Championship across the last 8 games. 20 points, 6 wins, 2 draws, 8 games played, 2 goals conceded. They've been really, really stingy. And if you look across the same passage of results, the last 8 games, Stoke are ranked 23rd in the Championship. So I was surprised, even though they got a home advantage, I was surprised to see Stoke City start as favourites here. Just 4 points from their last 8. 5 clean sheets, by the way, in a row for Millwall. It's just not a good place at the moment, Stoke. I thought their January reboot was going to lift them. A lot of younger players came in, a lot of new faces, and initially it worked, but they've gone backwards. And yeah, they're in a bad spot, and the fans have started to turn on Michael O'Neill, obviously the former Northern Ireland manager, and yeah, a lot of them want him out. And I suspect if Millwall make this a really awkward game, it could get quite toxic inside that stadium. I think they've failed to win at home in 11 of 18 matches already this season, Stoke City, and they're coming up against a really, really stubborn opponent. Millwall also have a good recent record against Stoke. They're unbeaten in their last 6. They won at Stoke last season. They won at the New Den earlier on in the campaign as well. And you've got Gary Rowett, who was, well, given the sack, wasn't he, by Stoke City quite ruthlessly not that long ago. So there's always a little bit of an edge there, I think, when Rowett goes back there. So yeah, Stoke have only won 2 of the last 17. They're bang out of form. to get Millwall at plus a quarter here, I think is quite appealing, even though it's away from home.
Friday Night Lights, League Two, Newport, a place we love, 1.82. They're obviously very much in the hunt for an automatic promotion, and I kind of look at the Hartlepool in the league, and it's just looking at it, it's almost like they're in that kind of thing. We're coming into April now. Yeah, we're going. Potentially, we're heading for the beach kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. They're all booking their holidays, aren't they? They're online every afternoon. Where am I going? In May. Newport. The pitch is better now, isn't it? Obviously, we laughed about it last year. It was a shocker, wasn't it? But it's a good pitch. They play great football now under James Rowberry. Lots of exciting younger players. Finn Azaz is in great form. I think he's on loan from Villa. Dom Telford up front is one of the leading scorers in League Two. So they've got goals in them. They're actually the top scorers at home in the league. They've scored 36 in 18 home games. So they average two a game on their own patch. And this is Friday night. This is South Wales. Hartlepool is a long way. That is a long way to be going on a Friday night. I'll tell you, and they're not great travellers, Hartlepool. They rank 21st in League Two for away form. They've lost 11 of 18. And against the best sides, the top half sides away from home, 1 draw and 7 defeats for Hartlepool this season. And up against a really motivated Newport in good form, full of goals. I think, I can just see the home side swatting them to one side. So, they're backable, I think, at 1.82 Newport County.
Yep. All right. Not a bad bet there. 1.82 Newport to beat Hartlepool. Mark, also on Friday night, Bundesliga, Bochum plus a quarter against Gladbach at 1.88. We've obviously touched on Gladbach the last couple of weeks. If you like the last couple of seasons, if we would have said this bet, you would say, okay, there's no way you're backing this. But Gladbach this season under Adi Hutter have not been great. Minus 15 on aggregate goals. Like that tells its own story, doesn't it?
Yeah, and there's been money for them this week as well. So I'm kind of going against the grain and against the early market money, which is a little bit unnerving. But still, I think a quick look at the expected goals rankings probably explains the pricing here. But I can't have Gladbach as favourites away at Bochum, underperforming drastically this season. They're just not a trustworthy team at those kind of prices away from home. Feels like a really trappy match for them. I know they've got the better players, the bigger budgets, the ambition to be a lot better than they are, but their form away from home is poor. Their form anywhere, actually, 3 wins from 14 since mid-November. They've kept 3 clean sheets all season, just 2 wins in 13 away from home. One of those, bizarrely, was at Bayern Munich, but they're not the sort of numbers that fill you with confidence. 0 clean sheets away from home. Their last away trip was probably a fine kind of example of their season. Go 2-0 up at Stuttgart, playing pretty good football, concede and just fall apart. And they lost the match 3-2. And the fragility of that team just was clear for everyone to see, really. And I kind of ignore what happened last week. They beat Hertha 2-0 at home, but Hertha are basically one of Europe's biggest jokes at the moment. So nothing really to write home about there. And going to Bochum is a difficult game. It's a newly promoted club who took time to find their stride, but they've consolidated wonderfully well since October's international break. 8 wins, 4 draws, 7 defeats during that stretch, which seems mediocre, but for a newly promoted club, it's very good. 5 of those 7 defeats came away from home. And actually, the Ruhrstadion has been one of the sort of strong points of their campaign so far. It's 3 home defeats since promotion and only 12 goals conceded as well. 7 wins in that 13-game sequence, scoring twice or more on 7 occasions as well. They've beaten Bayern here not so long ago. They only lost 1-0 when they welcomed informed Leipzig recently too. And they're underdogs. And I'm just not having it, really. And so I mentioned they found their groove since October's international break. I actually looked at expected goals, non-penalty expected goals, and expected points. Bochum rank higher than Gladbach over the last 4, 8, 12, and 16 game splits. In all 4 of those splits, Bochum are boasting a positive expected goals process. Gladbach are boasting a negative expected goals process across the same time frame. So we're getting not far off 1.9 on Bochum plus a quarter. It means we make money if they avoid defeat. They've lost 3 of 13 at home, and Gladbach have won 2 of 13 away. So make sense of that, if you will. But there's been some sort of reports emerging from the Gladbach camp this week about things behind the scenes, players discontent, coaching staff unhappy. Obviously, the sporting director left earlier this season, Max Erbel, and things just do not seem like a happy place. Adi Huta's on a big contract there, and they need him to stay on because they can't afford to get rid of him. So, and they obviously need to oversee a new recruitment policy as well. So yeah, lots of question marks about Gladbach. They're probably not going to get dragged back into the relegation dogfight, but it might be another team who are coasting now between here and the end of the season. So it looks like a good spot for Bochum.
Yeah, speaking of relegation fight, you mentioned Europe's biggest jokes, Hertha Berlin. Do you know what they could do with a year in Bundesliga's fight? That's all I'm going to say. Because like the notions of some of those fans and the money that has gone into that club, they're one of the biggest underachievers going. You're absolutely spot on there. All right, so yeah, good look there from Eric. Don't forget that's Friday night game. Bochum getting a quarter against Gladbach 1.88. Before we get the best bets, I want to tell a few folks about the sign-up offer at matchbook.com. The full terms and conditions can be found on this at insights.matchbook.com. But essentially, if you're listening to us on the podcast, use the bonus code INSIGHTSRF when signing up. As a £20 welcome offer, that's money back as cash if your first bet loses. Insights RF. And we also have the podcast special. We don't have that actually up on site yet, because it's actually an earlier recording that we're doing on Thursday morning this week. But that will be up under podcast specials on site. You can use it on that, of course, as by all means. Insights RF and insights.matchbook.com for full terms and conditions. All right, Mark, your best bet. We're going to Italy over 2.5. Empoli versus Verona, which surprised a few people that actually both of these teams, they kind of scope up pretty well for these kind of bets. Both pretty good, entertaining sides.
Yeah, I mean, no sort of bones about it. Italy's had quite a significant decrease and downturn in goal outputs in recent weeks, but I still think there's scope and an opportunity really to squeeze out a bit of value in this match between two teams who, as you say, the two of the sort of chief protagonists for goals per game in Serie A this season. Top level stats will show you that Empoli have failed to score in 4 of their last 6, but all 4 of those came away from home. Obviously playing at home in Tuscany this weekend, and they've scored in all bar 2 of 14 home matches since promotion. They've scored twice or more in half of those games, but they're actually yet to keep a home clean sheet this season, conceding twice or more in 11 of 14 games. So immediately there's quite a strong and persuasive case to look towards a goals-based bet here. 86% of matches at home, that's 12 or 14 have seen over 2.5. 12 or 14 also hit BTTS as well. League-wide, Empoli rank 4th for goals per game outputs, but actually, if you look at home, they're top of the charts and by some distance as well. 4.21 goals per game on average seen in Empoli home matches this season. The hosting Verona, who are actually joint top for overall goals per game, 3.45. That rises to 3.5 when playing away. Like Empoli at home, Verona away from home, yet to keep a clean sheet. They've conceded multiple goals in 8 of 14 away, but they've got on the score sheet themselves on 11 occasions and scored twice or more in half of those matches as well. Over 3.5 has actually clicked in half of Verona's away days, and both teams scoring in 11 of 14 away. And Verona this season, we've talked about them many times. They're just a carefree team, attack-minded, like to score goals, create opportunities, quite relish the kind of basketball style matches that they get involved in. They've scored in 25 of 29, just 3 shutouts all season as well. And they're coming into this match with injury and suspension issues kind of afflicting their central midfield and central defence yet again. So they'll be weaker in the foundations. Those foundations are pretty weak enough anyhow. But going forward, key men are available. Simeone, Barak and Caprari, the 3 of them have contributed 35 Serie A goals this season, which is a really hefty sum for a mid-table team. So, yeah, expect them to score. They could possibly cover this line themselves, but Empoli probably performing a little bit better than the results suggest recently. But I expect them to get on the score sheet too in what should be quite an enjoyable game on Sunday afternoon.
Great stuff. Terrific breakdown as ever. Adrian Clarke, you're heading to League One. MK Dons to beat Cambridge. And look, we touched on Newport and Hartlepool a while ago. Kind of a similar kind of situation here. That Cambridge, again, they're not going to get it to promotion spot. They're not going to be relegated. And MK Dons are very much in the fight for automatic promotion.
Yeah, it can work both ways. I think that sometimes teams that are relaxed and where they don't have that pressure to worry about promotion or relegation, they can play above themselves. But I think 7 out of 10 times it works the other way, where the motivated side is just that little bit sharper at this time of the season. Yeah, MK Dons, I fancy them heavily to beat Cambridge United, who were spanked 6-0 by Sheffield Wednesday last weekend. It was quite a chastening defeat. They've got a lot of inexperience at the back. Cambridge, they've had a great season. They've overachieved, but they're running out of gas. It feels that way, at least. They've failed to score in each of their last 3 games. And I think on the back of such a loss, one of the worst teams to face at that level are MK Dons. They're the best passing team. They can really make the pitch feel massive and give you a little bit of a run around. And they've got goal scorers throughout the team. Twine, Issa, Parrott, Corbianu, Connor Wickham's there, Waters. They've got a lot of options. They're unbeaten away since November the 23rd, 11 wins from 19 on the road. They're also the top scorers away from home in League One this season. So they whenever they go away, they get onto the ball and they look to score goals. And they won the reverse fixture at home 4-1, gave them a bit of a pasting. And I can see MK Dons winning this one quite handily. Cambridge, we saw what they did to Newcastle. They're a tough lot, but I think they might be outclassed here. There's a bit of motivation as well because Wigan won their game in hand in midweek, which means that MK Dons really have to keep their foot on that accelerator. So I think the price is quite a good one on a side that's knocking the door of automatics. Just shy of 1.9. I'll take MK Dons, please.
All right, good stuff. So the double, like I said, it isn't up on site yet, but it should be about 3.3, that kind of direction, just going off those prices. Mark's bet is over 2.5 in believe Verona and Adrian. MK Dons to beat Cambridge. Though, like I said, the last couple of weeks too, guys, if you see that price as better elsewhere, we're going to enhance it, obviously. But if you do see it better elsewhere, please hit us up on Twitter at Team Matchbook or my own Twitter account at Sully Matchbook, and we will get that done. International break coming up. Mark O'Haire, happy for the bit of a break, mate? Just chill out, relax.
I'm always looking forward to it. Nice to book in a few appointments and do a few things which I keep putting off during a normal season. But should say it's World Cup playoffs as well of the matches which are going ahead, and they're always some of the tastiest and most exciting matches on the coupon. So plenty to look forward to. And as Adrian will tell you, there's the EFL throughout in League One and League Two. So not a huge amount of rest, but certainly get a bit more time off, which is always nice.
Adrian, World Cup qualifiers, mate. Good time to do a bit of prep because we're going to have a busy November and December ahead of us, mate, for the World Cup of Qatar.
Oh, can't wait. Yeah, can't wait. It's going to be some season.
It's going to be different, isn't it? It's going to be different,
Well, a lot of, we like summer tournaments. It's what we're used to. But what a bumper football season it's going to be where you get the full season, but you get a World Cup in the middle of it. I think it's going to be a tremendous year of football. And
I love your optimism, really Adrian. Jesus, I love it. I love your optimism about it. I mean, I'm thinking, Jesus, November, December is going to be hell on earth, trying to juggle World Cup alongside everything else. But
last half full AC, always last half.
I don't know what to do when the football's not on. I don't know what to do with myself. I struggle. So the more football, the better. It's got to be.
Great stuff. We'll get you on board, Mark. It'll be fun. Be great, man. Won't be that much going on for you. It'll be quite enough couple of weeks. All right, Adrian, Mark, enjoy the international break. We'll be back, I think, towards the end of March, the 31st on that Thursday. But until then, best of luck with your FA Cup and Premier League bets and EFL and European, of course, as well. And we will chat to you then. Bye for now.